This is the IS-143 Basic Metals Processes sheet metal box construction. We're going to learn how to lay out a sheet metal box. First thing we need is a piece of sheet metal to shear, proper size. Dimensions of the sheet metal are 28 by 20, and we're going to get four actual boxes out of this particular piece. Okay, so we're going to have to shear it in 4 pieces. Okay, at this point what we need to do is scribe a line half the distance on both sides. The sheet metal is already square. It's 28 inches long, so 14. We're using a scribe or scratch all. Okay, and then mark the 20-inch side, 10 inches. Make sure to do this accurately, otherwise some people's boxes will not be square. Put it right there. Okay, now I'm going to scribe the lines. Making sure, oops. I need to cut that one. Okay, scribe the line, making sure to hold the ruler very tightly as you go. Okay, at this point we want to take and shear the stock into quarters, making sure that we line the lines up right on the edge of the shear. And it's somewhat difficult to see. You actually have to look down in the machine. Okay, what we want to do is line the line, you can see there, right up with the cutting edge on both sides. The fingers of the shear are going to hold the stock down as we cut. Let me see if I'm lined up here. Okay, we're lined up. Okay, so I push the foot pedal, the fingers come down, and someone should from the back hold the stock so it doesn't fall against the ground. Okay, now we have it cut in half. We want to cut it along this line, and we'll do a little wider angle so that we can see the foot pedal. So we're going to line it up against the line on both sides. You can also use, there's a guide on the side of here that you can put it up against. That also sometimes helps keep it square. Okay, get it on the line. Push the foot pedal. And we have 2 sheets. Okay, at this point what we want to do is scribe a line all the way around the edge of your box between 2 and 3 inches away from the edge. And the height of your box will be determined by how far away from the edge you scribe this line. We need to put, if you look at your sheet metal box layout, you'll see that we need to have some extra material around the edge for doing a hem. So if you make a 2-inch long box, you're going to have a slightly smaller vertical wall there. Take that into account. The hem, I believe, is 3/8 of an inch. So it'll be about 3/8 of an inch extra around the outside edge you're going to need for the hem. What a hem is, you're going to fold the edge of the material over so that it won't cut you when you're actually using the box. So that's what this extra material is for on the drawing. These flaps here, marked B, need to be a minimum of 1/2 inch wide in order that the spot welder can have enough material to weld to. So even more than 1/2 inch is preferable. There's a 45-degree angle on each of these tabs that needs to be measured. Okay, I'm going to mark my box at 2.5 inches all the way around. And always measure from the same side when you're measuring your box. Actually, go ahead and cut there. Okay, mark in the other direction. Oops, 2.5. Make sure you remember what your dimension was. Make sure that your stock is the same dimension on both ends. If it isn't, you're going to have problems with the sides lining up. One will be taller than the other one. Okay, so now we're going to draw lines. You're going to find your scribe line. When you line up the scale next to where you're going to scribe, make sure you don't put it right on top of the mark. You want it slightly to the side, because the scribe does not actually scribes about 1/32 of an inch away from the scale. So keep that in mind. Make sure that your scribe mark is right over top of your mark. Can you see the scribe line? I'm going to put a cut there. At this point, all the lines for the corners of the box are scribed, and we want to scribe a line 3/8 of an inch all the way around the side for the hem. Okay, the hem is going to be on this vertical part of the box, this vertical part of the box, here and here. So we're going to measure 3/8 from each edge. Okay, now to measure 3/8 from the side, I'm going to start at the 1 inch because it's a little easier to line it up with the line exactly. So 1, 2, 3/8, and I'm going to go all the way around and do the same thing. Being as accurate as possible. Okay, then lay out your hem all the way around. This is the last one here. Okay. Now, what we're going to want to do is, on the sides, as you can see the drawing here, on the sides we're going to have tabs. Or actually the sides of the box. I guess on the ends we're going to have tabs. On the sides we're going to have nothing there. Okay, and we got to make sure that we don't cut this side off before we measure out the tab. We basically, a lot of times people will make the mistake of putting the tabs in the wrong place. It's very important that the tabs are like this. Otherwise, when we go to the actual metal brake in order to bend this, they won't bend correctly. You'll have some of them bent up and some of them won't be bent up, and you won't be able to make your part. So make sure that the actual tabs, the 1/2 inch minimum tabs, are on the sides of the end of the box. Okay. So what we're going to do is we need to draw a 45-degree angle here. Look at the drawing here and here. And the way you draw, the easy way to draw a 45-degree angle is just have a box and make a diagonal across the box. And we already have that because our sides are equal in width. And draw a line like that, and go back the other way. I'm just going to put the scribe. Now this is where most people screw up. Remember that the hem also has to be on a 45-degree angle here as well. So we're going to have to scribe right across this instead of to this corner here. Okay. So the top, remember the top here, the hem, that's in the drawing here, has to have the 45, and the one also over here has to have as well. This is the hem on this side. So we want a 45 here and a 45 over here, and also a 45 for the tab. So it's real easy. We can do 3 things at once right here. Okay, at this point what we're going to do is we're going to measure a 1/2 inch away from, make sure you're measuring a 1/2 inch away from the ends of the box, the two shorter sides of the box, okay? And we're going to put a scribe line over here for the tab. Now what we're going to want to do also is to X out any area that we want to cut out so that we know where to cut and where not to cut, because if we cut along these extraneous lines over here, then we're going to end up probably cutting into our box, cutting the tab right off. If we cut along that line there, then we won't have a tab. Okay, so I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch away. Maybe I'll go a little more. I can go even 5/8 of an inch so I can have more material to weld on. 1/2 inch minimum. Go over here, do the same thing. Okay. Let's be consistent with all your dimensions. Okay, now this line I'm just going to scribe in front of where the tab is going to be. Tab is right here, so I'm just going to scribe there and there. And on the other side, and the mark there and there. Okay. Now everywhere that we don't want there to be metal, we're going to put marks through. You can use a marker for this as well if you want. Okay, so all the rest of that material has to be removed. Think about what you're doing before you scribe those, because if you scribe on an area that needs to stay there, it's going to be difficult to figure out what's going on when you try to cut. So do that all the way around then. Okay, at this point we want to shear the material that we don't want away. We have to be real careful when we're shearing, when you go on the inside of this corner here, to not shear all the way into your part. You have to be very careful. You also do want to cut up to that line though. If you don't cut far enough, it'll when you try to bend this, it will bind in that corner. So I'm just going to cut all the way across here. Okay, notice that this shear, once I get up to the depth of the jaw, it kind of binds up and doesn't let me go any farther. Okay, so the type of shear that's got the offset like this will allow you to cut all the way across the part. Okay, we'll go across over here. Go ahead, cut once. Okay, I'm going to come across here. That hem. Careful of these small little pieces, they're very sharp, so you should don't sweep them up with your hand, use a broom or something. Also, don't pull them off with your bare fingers if you can help it. You can wear gloves, we have gloves. Okay, now be very careful just to cut up to the edge now. You have to look right where it's cutting. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we just want to get rid of this big chunk here, so that we can come right into this corner here. Use these shears because it's a shortcut. Being real careful not to cut all the way into our workpiece in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, at this point what we're going to do is use the bar folder, and we don't want to change any of the settings on this machine. It should be set up perfectly for your particular 3/8 hem. If you're not sure that it's still set up, you could do a test hem. You can take a piece of scrap material and bend it over and make sure that you have the right length for the hem. Right now we're about good. Okay? It's important that the hem is at the right width. The idea is to take and stick your piece of stock in here so that it goes against the backstops. There's backstops in here that will stop it at 3/8 of an inch. Okay? So I'm going to push it all the way in against the backstop. If that backstop is not near your line, that's another indication that the machine is not set up correctly. Then I'm going to lift up on the handle and fold the stock all the way over. And what this is going to do is it's going to bend that part of the sheet metal over. Okay? You can see that the corner of my hem matches with the corner of the 45-degree bevel that I put on there. That's important. At this point, what I'm going to do is stick it all the way back into the slot and just lift up on it slightly. Okay? What that's going to do is finish the hem off. You don't want to go too far over because then we'll put another bend in here. In fact, I went slightly too far. So just to bring that back together and do that all the way around then. It's fairly quick. All the way over, slightly up just to bring it together. Okay? Okay, at this point we have all the hems made and we're ready to go over to the box and pan brake. And what a brake is, it's going to bend or break the metal at this edge right here, bend all these sides up. You can see why it was important to have tabs in line with the side, because otherwise when we bend the sides up, they will not bend these tabs up with it, and we'll see that in a second. This machine right here is the box and pan brake, and the way this works is that you clamp the metal between the fingers and the bottom of the anvil here, and then we're going to lift this up and it's going to bend whatever is sitting resting on top of here. It's going to bend that up. Okay, so the first bend we make is going to be all the way across the side here to bend all the tabs and the side up. The second bend we're going to make is going to bend the ends up with the tabs and everything. The problem is we have to make the fingers on the brake here just the right width to fit inside here. I've measured this side here is 5 inches wide, so we'll have to use a combination of fingers in order to get you exactly 5 inches wide. Okay? So right now what I want to do is move these fingers together or fill them all in so that we can have the whole side at once. The way the fingers work, loosen them up with the arm on the side, and this lever right here is in a cam. So loosen the fingers up, and then, okay, now you loosen them. You want to push them all the way back against the stop to make sure that they're seated and that you'll have an even bend. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 3-inch piece in here. We have some more of the fingers in the back here. Okay, so I'll put a 3-inch in here. Make sure it's all the way, it's even with the previous one. Okay, and you don't have to over tighten these, just make them nice and snug. Okay, make sure it's lined up. Okay, at this point what we're going to do, this one off. Make sure you don't drop those on the floor, they're very sharp on the front edge and they'll dent. Okay, at this point we're going to bend the whole side. So we want to make sure that our line, the line that we scribed on here, is slightly in front of where these where the fingers come down. So I want to make it even. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. So maybe about a 1/16 of an inch away from the scribed line, because there will be a radius to the curve, the bend that you're making. Okay, when you have it line up where you want it, clamp it all the way down. Push this handle all the way down until it stops. Okay? Now what we're going to do is bend this 90 degrees, not more than 90 degrees, just 90 degrees so that it's sticking straight up. After you release it, it has to be sticking straight up. And that's the first bend. You can see the tabs and the side are bent up. Okay? We're going to do the same to the opposite side, making sure our spacing is similar, otherwise the sides will not be the same height. One of the things that you'll be graded on is if both sides are even in height. So make sure you get that exact. Okay, bend it up 90 degrees after you release the pressure. Okay, at this point we want to make a finger that is 5 inches in width, or maybe just slightly smaller than that. Okay, there is a 3/4 of an inch wide finger, I believe, and that would leave an 1/8 on both sides if we use a 3, a 1, and a 3/4. We might need a little bit of room because these tabs have to come inside of the side, and if they hit together in this corner, it'll just bind up and crush the sheet metal right there. So we need to make sure that you bend these tabs in slightly. Go ahead and cut there. This particular tool here will allow you to bend that tab in evenly, just slightly, so that when you bend this up, hopefully they won't bind in that corner right there. Okay? Do that just slightly to each one. Don't overdo it, because then the spot welder will have difficulty spot welding it together later on. Okay, now we're ready to use the fingers to bring the ends up. Okay, go ahead.
It's going.
Okay, at this point we figured we're going to use a 5-inch. We have just enough clearance there, I think, to we can pull the sides out a little bit as we're bending it as well to get the extra clearance we need. So what we'll do is slide the part in, use the same spacing as we used the first time, clamp it down. Okay, we're going to hold the sides out as we bend. Someone can help you with this if you'd like. Make sure that they're not binding. You got to watch it so that they're not binding on the ends. You can only go 90 degrees because then otherwise you're going to hit over here, and if you go any farther you're going to put a crease across the back. Okay, so only go 90 degrees. That looks pretty good. A nice square of corner. You can see that the height of the sides are even. Okay, and so when we spot weld these together, they should look pretty good. Do the same thing on the other end. Make sure you watch it as you're bending it so that you know that you're not binding the sides and the end, the tabs. So look on both sides, look in the center. You don't have to bend it quickly. Okay. And that looks good as well. Okay. Okay, now what we want to do is bend those tabs back out a little bit so that they're flush with the box, and we're going to go and we're going to weld the sides together. Okay, at this point what we're going to do is we're going to spot weld using, this is the spot welder here. Basically what happens is these two heads come together and clamp two work pieces together. It holds it in place and then it welds. You have 2 seconds in order to abort the process. If I let my foot off the foot pedal before it welds, you get a second chance to realign your part. If I leave it down, I'm going to keep my foot on the foot pedal and then let go photo of it after it's cooled down. You can see that it produces a weld. Small little weld. It should look like that. Okay? This right down here is the foot pedal. Okay? And make sure that either a professor or the graduate student sets the machine up for you. If you do the wrong thing with this machine, don't change any of the settings. You could actually cause damage to the machine. The other thing is, the reason why I'm wearing gloves, if your box is touching the side of this electrode, sometimes it heats right where your finger is holding it, and you can get burned that way, so make sure you wear gloves while you're doing this. The idea is we want to put probably 2 welds right on the inside of that tab. If you have a taller box, you might want to put maybe 3 welds on that. Okay? The idea is to get the edge of the box lined up correctly before you push the foot pedal. No, it didn't quite like that. I'll put it in right about there is where I want it. Okay? Stuck a little bit to the electrode, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to weld the second one now. Okay. Finished box has all the welds on it. We optimized the weld settings so they look a little better now. And you can see that they're welded on the inside too. You make sure that you're getting that tab, otherwise you're going to burn that corner out. You could actually put a hole in your box. Okay? What I'm looking for in this box is that all the sides are at the same height. You see that they're very nice, about the same height. That I don't see a lot of extraneous bumps and dents in the bottom of the box where I overbent. Okay? And you know that your cuts are precise and all the tabs are in the right spot. So take your time, and this shouldn't take you more than maybe one period to make. Okay?